you might have a tough time convincing me of this drastic change. But you need to know all these numbers. So these are the kind of numbers you need to know. Going to show how investment comes here. Yes. So this phase is a great opportunity to show how the hockey stick works. So a good example would be I'm selling 1,000. I keep using weird examples, but I'm using selling 1,000 books a month at a cost of $10 a book. However, after I buy this giant bookmaking machine, my cost of books, creating a book, goes to $1. Oh, well that's $9 extra every book, right? And then what's the payback time for the machine, right? So that's the perfect opportunity to show how the investment that you're going to be getting in to give away part of your company is going to make the revenue or your profit jump up quite a bit, and your ability to sell more. Show some revenue. So again, I like to see revenue. I don't care if it's $1. Show me that somebody is buying what you're selling. Somebody likes the idea outside of your brother, sister, mother, father, kids. Complete strangers bought what you sold is huge. The people that did really well at the Sharkette Tank were people that were selling something that other people were buying outside of their immediate circle of friends. That's a big deal. Don't underestimate that, getting out there, selling what you got. And here, if you do have multiple streams, you can show it in each stream. I can tell you that one of the companies I found is a company called E-Rate. We sold space on shipping containers. Oh, like eBay for the shipping industry. So what happened was we had a bunch of different revenue streams, and like our third one ended up to be the biggest, and the first one ended up tanking. Completely, zero. What we thought was our number one revenue stream. We still presented it as the big one. When the investors came in, looked at it, we actually ended up getting $8 million, which was nice for a first raise. Although it was back in the day.
Back in the day, yes.
The good old time. And what happened was we had this model where we said we're going to charge shippers $100,000 to be a subscriber to our site. The first shipper paid $100,000. The second one didn't want to pay anything, so we did it for $50,000. And then after that, nobody else paid, and we gave it all for free. So our entire revenue model collapsed. However, the second or third one was to charge a tiny fraction of the transaction costs, and that just ended up skyrocketing. And it was funny because now it's kind of obvious. Back then it wasn't so obvious. But it was one of our investors that said, I'm going to invest in you guys, but I think your first one's garbage, but I think you're going to make money on the second. And of course, we as the then young entrepreneurs said, no, we got this. The guy's like, it's okay to disagree. Your favorite movie could be Harry Met Sally. Mine's Armageddon. We can still date. And it turned out really well. So it was good that we showed them all. We were still clear. We still had our laser focus about what we thought it was going to be. We did adapt, obviously. But it's important to show all the different revenue streams.
I'm going to comment. The current term of art for that, which is supposed to be brilliant management, is now called pivot. Does the management have the ability to pivot? Because whatever you think is going to happen never happens. And that is still true. That is still true.
It's absolutely true.
Pivot.
Pivot. The question I had is that many times, especially in this business environment, and Christian is one of our advisors, so he knows what we've been going through, is that we think it's going to, we have things planned. We had our business plan for this. And all of a sudden, the universe has shifted and is taking us this way. And how does that look from an investor's perspective when you have an entrepreneurial business and idea and two founders? I won't mention names, but you have your business plan according and your revenue stream according in this fashion. But because of the universe and what's going on, things have shifted around, and actually the revenue stream is coming from a different.
Smart management follows the revenue stream.
Yeah, that's what
So smart management who can pivot. I mean, that's really what people want to invest in. People who know that everything is going to be unexpected. Things you can't imagine will occur. I mean, literally. And so is a person smart enough to deal with this? Do they know the landscape? Can they move forward? Do they listen to advice?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see you beat your head against the wall. So let's say in the example that I gave, so the first shipping company actually paid. The second one, we gave it the half price because you had to get them aboard. This site wouldn't work unless shipping companies signed up for it, right? Third said, I'm not paying. We made a decision. We need them. Let's go free. at that point, we kept going free. If we had beat her, no, we want 100 grand, you're not going anywhere until this happens, I think our investors would have said, you guys are idiots. And frankly, I think we would have spent so much time trying to get, remember, sales takes time, right? You got sales lead time. It would have been unbelievably bad. We adapted. Any answer?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, show revenue. This is the area where an investor is going to get excited as an investor, right? So I might get excited about your business because it's something I'm also passionate about. So you're helping, starving children in Ethiopia, and you're actually making money doing it. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's a good thing. I can do that. I feel good about myself. It's a fun business, whatever. So I want to invest in your company, but now the investor in me is going, okay, where am I really going to make my money, right? And I think you said 5x. I think a lot of people still look for the possibility of a 10x, although that might be.
But usually a little bit longer length of time.
Yeah, longer length of time. But I always like to see it because then I know maybe I'll end up with 4 or 5x if I'd see 10x.
Right.
And that means 10 times. So if I put in 100 grand, I'd like to see $1 million within a couple of years, a reasonable length of time. So if you're going to give me an investment and you're going to pitch it to me and you do everything right, you go, Christian, you're going to give me 100 grand, I'm going to sign the dotted line, and in a year or two I might be able to change that 100 grand to 110, baby. I didn't lose money, but it's not appealing to me. There is nothing, in your head you might go, I made you 10 grand. I get it, but I could probably, well maybe not, but I might be able to make that in the market. And keep in mind how an investor works. We invest, I got killed on an investment I made last year, personal investment. So, okay, next one better be good. The next one better be good. So if you make 10, you're going to lose a bunch of them. You got to get the Facebook type return, the 10x return on the ones. So you actually look for that right up front. And if that's not even there, I wouldn't even go in.
So you partially answered my question in that you all have referenced how the market has changed from a private equity perspective. Is an angel investor really focused and committed to that 10x because of the reason you just said, whereas the guys who come along later or gals who come along later are willing to take 3x? Do I have to show you a 10x opportunity, or can it be a 5x opportunity?
It's a little bit, it's a risk and return, and it's also a portfolio. I mean, the statistics out there are, if an angel investor invests in 10 companies, that, 6 or 7 are just going to fail. I mean,
4 fail, 4 hang on, don't do much of anything, 1 or 2 make a nice return. But the 10x return, this is a very risky space.
Really, really
Yeah,
risky.
No, I hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, and so people think of angel investors being very skeptical, but they realize that things change, that risk happens, and this is a risky space.
And usually the losers lose before the winners win.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's patient. Angel investors have to be patient, and remembering, once again, it's their own money. So if there's no possibility that within 4 or 5 years that company's sold and you get 8 or 10 times your money back, if that's not even possible under any circumstances, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I know that's a hard thing, but it doesn't mean you have to guarantee 10 times back. It's just, it has to be possible.
Yeah, and know that first, you don't have to guarantee anything. And second, if you have a 2x return, that doesn't mean you shouldn't pitch it, because you never know when you strike somebody's interest, whether it's a personal person like me, an angel group, and somebody sits down with you and goes, okay, we'll erase this, we'll make it this, or you know what, you project this. I don't know where you're getting it, but I'm projecting this. And they'll probably just use it to squeeze you for more equity, frankly. But they might see something, and I've definitely been invested in other companies that the other person had a bigger vision of it than I did. So don't, leave it open. Have what you have. Be honest about the fairest numbers you can come up with.
Right.
That doesn't, you might say, I'm going to do all this and my revenue year 1 is $1 million. I go, I got to be honest, you do all that, revenue after year 1 is going to be $10 million. I might also say it'll be 50 grand. So other people are going to have their own interpretation, but I would still get out there. I mean, don't stop it. Just know that, I don't even know what's happening. Just know that that's kind of going to be in the back of people's heads. And I'll tell you, everything I've ever been involved in changed after 6 months, changed after a year, changed after a year and a half. From where we got our money from, the revenue model, sometimes the business model completely changes. One of the companies I work with was going fully into the individual consumer space, completely changed it to go after corporate space. That's a huge difference. And we did that after one meeting. We said, okay, let's do this. And we did it. And that was it. It was a small company, we could change on a dime. And that completely changed all the numbers, right? Changed our customer acquisition. We used to spend a lot of money to get a customer. Now it was a small dedicated sales force to go sell them to a corporation. And that was just, hey, why don't we do that? Okay. Big difference, big difference. Change the numbers, change the revenue model, change the 10X, changed everything. Moving on. And know that your model will be tested. So know that people are going to look to kick the tires a lot in this area. So if you have a subscription-based company and I say to you, how many subscribers do you have? Not sort of, as we're doing due diligence, I have 53, I have 153, I have 16, I have 12, not over 100. Oh, like you have 101? Or do you have 12,000, right? Know that it's going to be tested. Going back to the shipping example, when we were getting funding, and it was nice because we had it all in database, first thing it said is, let us see the list of all the shippers that have signed up. Let us see the list of every single transaction on your site. If you can believe that. Oh, it's in a database. We've got over 50,000. Excellent, send the database over. Oh, okay. And we sent over 51,237 transactions or whatever we had at the time. We didn't send over about 50,000. So know that everything you say under the financials or the due diligence, whatever you want to call it, will be tested. Moving on. So use of proceeds. This is a little bit what we talked about before. I think you mentioned, how do the investors get their money and how do they get the percentage and what's the money going to be spent on. So this is a big area. A lot of investors make their decision to invest on this piece alone. So what are you going to do with my money? Well, I need to go to Tahiti to do some marketing there. After that, my husband and I are heading out to Aruba, a little marketing over there. Yeah, it's not going to work. So you need to have a budget, and don't be scared or intimidated by that word. Just what you're going to do. Again, there's no hard rules, and I'd love both of your.
Okay, we'll do it real fast.
I'd love both your. I know, I'm all fast.
No, she's telling me really fast too.
I'd love both your feedback in terms of any hard, fast rules about what you have in terms of use of proceeds. I don't like to see. Again, I'm more early stage, so if you say, well, I haven't been getting paid for 2 years, I need to make $60,000 a year to keep this going, part of your money's going to go to my salary, nah. Usually past debt, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, we don't want to see
no.
it. Don't want to see it paid off to somebody else.
Right.
You want any money that goes into the company is to stay in the company. So you don't want to pay off a former investor or buy out a former
Right,
investor.
that's definitely not going to happen. There's no point. I wouldn't even put that one. I would say no. You'd be surprised. People say, "Well, I'd like $100,000." Well, I owe my aunt 60, and then the 40. I don't even know your aunt. Why am I paying her off? Many don't like salaries for founders, although it's funny, as I was driving here, every single company that I've been funded, I always end up getting a salary. So, I was definitely,
Except Christian, nobody
definitely-
gets paid.
definitely not a hard, fast rule, I would say. I mean,
No, it's not hard.
companies, you pay your founders, right?
Yeah, it just has to be not paying off large amounts of past salaries, and it has to be a fairly modest salary. Remember, the founder owns a big chunk of the company, and that's where they're going to get their payday. So it has to be very reasonable, I would say.
Again, you're going to spend it on advertising. Show the hockey stick. So this is where you're going to say, again, the hockey stick's coming up, it's coming up, I'm here, I'm going to get some money, and now I'm going to skyrocket up. Well, how? I'm buying that machine. I'm spending it on advertising. And if you spend it on advertising, you're going to want to show that it works somehow. So I used to spend $100 in advertising, and I got $1,000 with the business. Now I'm going to spend, $100,000 and get $2 million worth of business, or something that I can measure it against. You're going to get some top-level hires. Again, think a deal before you think salary. So if you're going to hire other people at your level, what I call the executive level, think about making them a deal before you think about giving them a salary. And a lot of times, and again, I said earlier that I love partners and committees and advisory boards and all that stuff. it gives a certain amount of clout. You walk into a room and there's 3 of you as opposed to 2 of you. I already know you can make friends, right? If nothing else, I know that you can make a friend. And that's important. And I know that you convince 2 other people to jump into your crazy scheme. And it actually, believe it or not, when you go to hire employees or have an office, it is so much easier to hire an employee when there's already 3 people sitting there and you're bringing in the 4th than just you and your $30,000 assistant or whatever it's going to be. Everything becomes simpler. And you've got somebody else to, cry with and high five with and go for drinks with. And again, you'll need to have a budget or plan to show how it'll be spent over how much time. So I think, everybody here has mentioned that you get $100,000 the first year and then we're going to talk again. Right? And a lot of investors do that. Some investors do it by, it's automatic, so we're going to set up 10 milestones for you, or 1 milestone a month, 12 milestones for you in the first year, and if you hit them all, we automatically invest again.
Question for you. You mentioned doing your homework in advance, knowing the area that the organization serves, the area of expertise they like to support, and things like that. What resources do your organizations have by virtue of your network or your own personal experience that you also might bring to bear to somebody who's pitching? So let's say somebody comes with an idea, we have a preliminary sense of financials, you like the idea, but you think we're off, and you think based on your own personal experience or the network that you had that there is this opportunity to flesh the idea out better. Does that ever happen, or does it have to be picture perfect before you get there?
Every time.
Pardon?
We don't invest in ideas. Okay, we don't want to hear ideas.
Right.
Because it's such a long way. And what happens with an investor is if they like the space and you've described a business, then they're going to put money into it. Or even if they're not going to put money into it, they will give you advice. Okay, but they won't spend their time perfecting something unless they're going to invest in it or they're actually invested in it. So coming to somebody with an idea is some way to sort of get rejected immediately, I think.
I meant is assuming you come with a viable, business ongoing concern that you think is going to work.
Jumpstart invests in pre-revenue businesses, so you don't have to have the revenue. So you can say, this is my plan. Okay, so this is my business, this is my plan, this is what I expect to do. So that to us is more than an idea. Okay. But then only if you get investors interested in that area will they do their time and effort, or it will become to maybe perfect it. But that's after they've invested, or on the process of that.
And I might add, if you're at that stage of your business, that's a time when you need to sit down with the UCEDC or SCORE, because they can sit down and they can get all those financial projections in the market and the competition in a succinct form that if you know you're going to need an angel investor or investment capital, you're ready to go and they can help you. They can help you so that you're ready to go.
Right, and one more quick comment, because I know we're running out of time. You as CEOs and founders, sometimes you turn it over to accountants to do financials and things like that. You yourself have to understand every assumption in that plan, and when someone tests it and questions it, you have to know the answer. You can't just wave it off saying, my accountant did it, or I don't know the cash flow, or anything else like that. You have to understand that.
I also just wanted to quickly answer your question that initially my gut reaction was every time. So every time I've worked with a VC or I've worked with a company, there's always a little give and take and changes made. And again, that dating period, and again, I'm assuming I automatically assume that she was past just the dream idea stage. But during that dating, okay, back to the dating analogy, you think your relationship's going to be one way when you start dating somebody, and then you both define it together. And I think that's the best way to look at it when you're with a VC, an angel investor, whatever, because as I think somebody pointed out earlier, we own you. So that relationship is going to be defined. And even though I haven't invested yet, we're meeting, I'm seeing how you're listening to me, I'm seeing if you like my ideas. Company that I mentioned earlier, I hadn't jumped in yet, and I said, let's change it from a consumer focus to a corporate focus. If they had come back to me and said, we don't like that, that's dumb, I would have said, okay, either I'm right, they're right, but I'm just going to be butting heads for the next year if I invest in them, this isn't for me. They came back and said, that's exactly right. I thought, oh, okay, now we're getting a little closer and closer to what we want to do. So I would say that every time, don't come with unfinished numbers, but be prepared to erase and restate some premises. So again, you might say, I see 10 million, I might see 100 million.
Should we just finish up? Should we take our time? Should we take our questions or not? We might want to just quickly touch on the last 2 topics, and maybe we can hang out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to run through technology very importantly. I'm going to say some basic things because not everybody understands this. Today it's an email world. No one wants to see a hard copy of a plan. They want to see it coming in an email. The groups especially, because what we have to do is redistribute that to our members to take a look at. AngelSoft does that. In Jumpstart's case, we take plans directly, so you can send it in to us. We don't require you to do AngelSoft, but we do like a good one-pager with your plan. So don't try and give people hard copies. I think that's really way past that. The other thing, what I talk about here for technology, is people used to think about it as not part of their thing, it was something you'd added on. Now it's really embedded in everybody's business for a number of reasons. And I believe that you need to have a website immediately, and which requires them to go to the attorneys. You need a trademark from your name, and you need to register, you do all these things because you don't want to be in the position of having to change it. And you don't want to have it out there developing a brand that you have to do something with later on. Websites can be created at very low cost. There's all sorts of resources out there. What you need to do is get something up with your name, your product or your business, a place they can contact you. And if you're selling product, sell it immediately on the web. Okay, sign up with all the services that you need to do to take care of it, make it simple. But if you don't do that, people will go looking for you and they can't find you on the web. They don't think of you as a serious business. Put a contact information in a location. I cannot tell you the number of business plans that come into us where they've been separated from their email, they have no contact information. I don't know what state they're in.
You don't even know where they are. It's amazing.
Right, and I've been not as mean as I could be, which is trash this one right now. I'm not going to go looking for it. I will check the phone number on it to see what area it is, and then I'll trash it if it's in Texas. Okay, because they're not reading my website saying we only take from Virginia to Connecticut, and so don't make it obscure. If you're in a home environment, you don't want to have that address out there. Just put Cranberry, New Jersey, something where people know where you are. It's very important on your website and on your business plan.
I like addresses.
Oh,
I like addresses, and I don't like P.O. boxes. Just putting that out there.
Right.
Even if you use your home, right, Suite 102, 22 Woodrow Wilson Drive. I mean, I've done that. I just like knowing there's a physical, something about honesty and driving by. I don't care if it's your house, but I don't want to think that you're completely in the ether if I'm thinking about giving you money.
Right. I mean, I think that's true. I'm just trying to get the state right, okay, when I do this. But most people, if you're not in there, if you don't specify that you're in their region or whatever space they invest in, then we'll just trash the business plan. You're not going to hear back from people you send plans to. It's just normal. It's business credibility if you don't have a website. So you need to do that sort of immediately. And then I think that even though you're doing something else, you need to understand search engine optimization, because that's what drives people to your website. And it's a whole other course, but I mention it to you because you want to make sure that people get to you for whatever reason. If it's to sell your product, if it's to do something else, you need to get on someone's screen for that. And that's my quick piece on technology, but it really is embedded in everything you do these days.
Well, and I'm going to add, most investors that we know of, that technology piece and component is vitally important. That they want to see that you have something going on the website. And I'll put a little plug, that's why we added the marketplace in Own Adventures. It's to help women get some type of a website presence, and also to help get those sales ramped up.
Just a very quick story. There's a reality show on one of those things about a cookie place in the shore. So I can't remember if it's a cookies house, but that's her specialty. And it's been on maybe 6 or 8 shows. I know about it because someone knows the person who's there. They did not get their reality show renewed, but their internet business has gone off the hook. They have to buy another location to build to another kitchen to do cookies for delivery, not in their site in Ocean City. So that basic thing on a product, you think like that, off the hook drove their business. Okay.
And so many women have a product-based business or a service-based business, that website presence and technology component to your business is very, very, very important.
And, yeah.
Good question. My company, Family Travel Marketing Services, is service-based. Is it harder for a service company to get an angel investor involved versus a product-based?
I'd say it depends on the breadth of the service and how unique it is, and if there's anything that's protectable about it. Often the problem is a service-based business is dependent on one person, and if that person goes away, the service, the uniqueness, you are investing in people, but you don't want it all dependent on one person.
Yes.
So-
No, it's a little tougher. It's harder to invest for the same reason Liz stated that. I've had consulting firms, and you could never get investment for a consulting firm. It's very difficult.
The growth rate isn't there for an investor to get that return.
Okay, 2 minutes. After you pitch, if they like you, they give you the thumbs up, we're going into due diligence. They're going to ask you for materials. They're going to ask you for sets of contracts. They're going to ask you for your company records. They're going to ask you for things to make sure that you've set yourself up quickly. It's amazing to me how often, and I know that the angels drag things out. This is where there's a double standard. If you drag things out and they say, we're interested in you, and you don't send them something for a month, their interest is gone. So you have to keep their interest. They're doing this in their spare time. They're intrigued. You're fresh in their mind. Stay fresh in their mind. So answer. If you have contracts, if you have a major supplier, well, is this a handshake? Is this something where their supplier is committed to buying a certain, selling a certain amount, cut clients, buying a certain amount? They want to make sure your house is in order. And yes, this is a bit of a, accounting lawyer commercial, but nonetheless, if things are really messed up and nothing is really down pat and there's no obligations from anybody to anybody else, you don't have a trademark, your name's not protected. It really can hurt your prospects later on. Also, the honesty. If you forgot to tell them a really big thing, there's a lawsuit and you just, don't mention it until a month after due diligence has started, there's an honesty issue there too. Insurance for certain businesses, insurance is boring, but it's important. Your financial account, your lawyers and accountants, make sure they're appropriate to your business. Make sure they understand startup businesses. Make sure those people often have networks of people they can they can introduce you to. Use them for that. That's not something they shouldn't really charge you for an introduction to somebody who knows how to make the best cookie or has the best factory to make cookies if you're expanding, or other investors or other resources, consultants, people who can write a great business plan or help you with your pitch or whatever. Use those people, and that's why you should have the right people. For example, Fox Rothschild, little commercial. We've just started for our really early startup clients, because sometimes the legal fees are too much. We have a toolkit on our website for clients only, where they can go in and they can look at basic documents, they can fill them out themselves. They should send them to your attorney just to check to make sure you did it right. But the theory is that these basic corporate startup documents, you can do some of it yourself. And this is some forms that we think are good and that we can check quickly because we're familiar with them. It's a way to make it more efficient. We hope you become a great, huge business that will pay us a lot of fees someday, but we want to scale with you appropriately. So make sure it's a firm that knows what's appropriate for your size and can introduce you and has resources. Intellectual property, we covered that. I don't know if I have to go over that again. So, okay.